I'll just stay quiet until you speak.
I think we're probably on now. So let's just have a little check, see if that's going through. I think it's probably just doing it now.
Just said the meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
The meeting is now live, right? Good.
Yeah,
so
good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm joined here by Rachael Davis. Rachael, say hello.
Hello.
So Rachael is a recent award winner. She's on our advanced program. Rachael, do you want to just tell everyone who you are, what you do, where you're based, and how long you've been on Property Entrepreneur?
Yeah, I've been on Property Entrepreneur for 3 years now. So this is my third time on the track. I live in Berkshire, and me and my husband, Paul Davies, who some people will know, run a HMO property business in the local area. So we service Camberley, Wokingham and Bracknell. And it's mostly made up of our own properties. So we are a landlord, but we also last year went into the client managing other the dangerous zone of managing other people's HMOs. To be fair, we helped a client refurb and build 2 HMOs from scratch. So we now manage those properties as well. So it's only we're dipping our toe in the water for
fantastic. Good stuff. All right, so you've been on Property Entrepreneur 3 years. I remember when we met 3 years ago. Can you remember where you were with your business and what life was like then? To give that
it's a funny story. So Paul told me about this course because he was on Mastermind. So he was a Mastermind 2023, 23. And he'd come off Mastermind and he knew about the course. You know, the accelerator. Remember the accelerator, Adam?
I do remember those. No. They're holding them shortly.
And he said to me, I think this is a course that will be really good for us to go on. And it was just as when I'd agreed to leave my corporate job and take over the business that we'd created together, because we couldn't cope with 2 full-time jobs and a business and the kids. And he asked me to go on the course, and I wasn't interested or keen at all. But he said, no, go on this accelerator. It'll give you a taster for what it's like. And I wasn't sold on it at all. So I turned up, not convinced that this was going to do me any favours at all. And then I had the accelerator, met Dan, and that it changed everything. So at the end of the course of the 3 days, I was completely convinced I needed to do it. And then started the course in the September.
So in terms of your business, you just quit your job. You right at the beginning, right?
Right at the beginning.
2 houses.
Yeah, and Paul literally, he gave me a shoebox with some receipts in it and said, "Can you sort this out?"
Amazing, brilliant.
That's literally what he'd given me. He said, "You're going to run the business now," and he had all the tenant information in his head. Like it was. He had we had loads of records on paper, and he was like, I never forget the shoebox. Literally, I'd gone from a big corporate job in London where I was quite senior, and he gave me a shoebox and said, "Can you sort this out?"
Right, brilliant. I mean, honestly, I've been there. We've all been there. So many people listening now. I think, oh my goodness, that's where I'm at. I mean, that is a very real reality of starting your own business.
Yeah,
that was 3 years ago. You left your high-profile London job. You were in the press, weren't you? In PR.
Yeah, well, I started in press. I worked for newspapers for a long time. So I worked for DMGT. I worked for Metro Newspaper for 10 years. I then went into media data. And I absolutely loved the job, to be honest, but the office moved to King's Cross. So I was doing a 3.5-hour commute a day, 12-hour days, 2 children at home. They were best friends with the nanny, and they hardly saw me. I had a day off on a Friday, and we just screamed at each other all day. It was really stressful.
Wow.
And it really long hours. And at the end of it, I was, in my I think I was in my late 30s at this point, beginning early 40s, and it was just getting too tough. It was really tough.
Well, I think the fact that you're a parent is definitely something we want to touch on in this interview, because I think that the fact that you've done all this whilst being like a mum as well is absolutely incredible. So that's where you were. Fast forward to today. You've just been through the COVID crisis. Where are you now? What's different? How's it changed? You look very relaxed in your house. Like things are going well. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I had loads of things wrong with me when I left my corporate job. And now I'm at a point where health-wise, I'm in a really good place. I have had a diagnosis finally that I've got arthritis, and that's what I was really suffering from when I left my job at the beginning. you know, at the beginning of all of this. But I mean, today I'm in no pain at all. I've got a clear path of what I need to do. I've got a physio to help me. I've now, you know, with the hospital. So health-wise, I've been able to focus on my health and actually sort it out. And I couldn't do that in the corporate job that I had before. I just didn't have the time to look after myself. So I've been able to do that. In terms of the business, well, it looks like a business. It wasn't really a business before. It was just
shoebox.
Now we've got, in terms of like, what can you see physically? We have got a physical website. All of our emails are branded. We've got Word documents branded. We've got PowerPoints branded. So we've got communication that has our brand all over it. The website is looking good. It's doing what we need it to do. It's a window for the tenants at the minute. It's not really a window for landlords right now, but it can be, and it could be in the near future. We've got a very streamlined process on Asana, and all the main functions of what you'd call a landlord business and a small lettings business. All of those functions are highly processed from start to finish. I've got a virtual assistant called Michelle. She's been with me for 1.5 years now, and she has done a phenomenal amount for us in that time, particularly when we went through COVID, because I would never have got some of the things I needed to get done last year done if she hadn't helped us. Unfortunately for me, last year was about growth, and we grew about 40% last year, and it was really tough. Kids at home, so that, I think that was another reason why my hair fell out. It was just really hard. Oh, we did it.
You've had. There's so much you've done so well. And this is why I think it all came to a head when you really got recognised by winning that award at the start.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. So you've covered so much there. So let's start with the shoebox. I mean, what did you do with that shoebox? I mean, if that was the state of the business's finances and admin, like what sort of happened there? What did you do?
Yeah, one thing to say is that it doesn't happen overnight. So really, to get to where we are today, it's taken 3 years. So if anyone listens to this and thinks, oh my God, how do we get to that point? It literally has taken me 3 years. So I had to find a bookkeeper. We had an accountant, obviously, but they don't do the day-to-day. So we found a bookkeeper. That took a bit of time, and then we started going through what we called the backlog. Hashtag the backlog went on for quite a long time. I think it took us 1.5 years actually to get that done and dusted. Every week, every Thursday, we'd check in with each other. We'd set what she needed to do for the week, what she was covering, what she'd got done the previous week, and then it would be once a week that we would do that, and we did that religiously. It was a bit sporadic in lockdown because she's got children as well. That made it harder. But over the 3 years, we've got to a point where we got through all the backlog, and the backlog was a lot. I think up to 3 years.
What does it look like now? Like what does that look like now? Was it in a shoebox or?
Yeah, no more shoeboxes. So it looks like it's a digitized accounting system. So we now reconcile everything on a weekly basis, and then reconcile the P&L report on a monthly basis. So it's getting done in real time now. So we use Xero. She inputs everything into Xero, but it's done in real time. So it's taken us a long time to get to that, but we've got full financial visibility, which has been a blessing and not so a blessing, because now I know actually how much less money we're making than we were maybe 2 years ago. Our profit's been hit hard, but we've been very fortunate that we've made profit every year, and we haven't lost any money over the COVID, and for that I'm enormously grateful. It's not hit us as hard as we expected it to hit. We didn't need to take any loans out, and we're fortunate for that because we weren't able to. We're not, as landlords mainly. Sure. There was less on the table for us.
Congratulations, Rachel.
I know, so that's good. But we see that visibility now, which is incredible. And now we've even gone further than that. And this year, one of our objectives was to have to be a data-driven business, and to have our decisions driven by the data in front of us rather than by what we think. And that going back to that point I think that you and Dan make about things shouldn't be arbitrary. So that's where we've been trying to get this year. And the monthly P&Ls have really helped us with that. And also I've got a dashboard now with occupancy data, viewing and sales data, conversion rates, the things that we just didn't have last year. So We're now much more, if you asked me what my occupancy rate was, what my conversion rate was. I'd be able to give you all of that information, and I didn't have any of that really last year.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, we talk about, you know, driving the car with the dashboard rather than being the one that's pedaling it yourself, right? And that's the difference between you having it all in your head and being able to look at some numbers and actually see the data. And you'd be surprised how many entrepreneurs don't have a monthly profit and loss published. That's a hell of an achievement. I think that is often the first place where entrepreneurs start, isn't it? Let's be honest. So that's awesome.
Fair, I can see why they don't, because actually sometimes you find stuff in it that you didn't
want to know. Put your head in the sand. I'd rather not know and live off the bank balance. You think I've got loads of money in the bank, we're absolutely fine, but the reality is cash in the bank and profit are two very different things, aren't they? So
they are.
Well done. Getting a bookkeeper and getting your finance absolutely sorted is good. Sounds like you've got some good systems now, because if you can see the data, presumably you've got some sort of systems in the background. Did you have quite a, is that how you quieten the noise down in your business? Was it quite noisy?
Right, so on the process side and the systems, we do have, at the beginning, we use Landlord Vision, so we haven't gone into using Arthur. I haven't gone that far because I don't think we're big enough yet to need it. Landlord Vision's a little bit simpler for us and easier to use. I find that with Arthur it's a lot more complicated, so we didn't go down the Arthur route, although we did really look at it, because a lot of people in the community use it, and that's, you know, so it was something we took quite seriously. But we decided, I think COVID changed our mind. We didn't want to mess with the system that we already had, because we didn't want to have to risk losing direct debits, because we use a direct debit system to take our payments. But so we have a system, that a property management system, but the process, the real change has been with mapping the business. So following the blueprints that you and Dan have given us for, you know, mapping out your business, understanding who does what, understanding what all the processes are. So what, you know, from check-in to check-out to maintenance to complaints to everything, we now have a process for the whole thing. And when we started in 2019, we started making the business map, and we did the check-in and the check-out processes. We did those first. And then in 2020, we didn't do a lot of processing, to be honest. We did a lot of growing, so it all got a bit messy again. And then this year's all been about finishing off the things that were eating me alive during COVID. So all the problems that we had, the noise that the business made, with maintenance issues, with complaints that went through the roof, you know, between tenants and between neighbours, and, you know, just the general problems.
You've got a process for dealing with complaints now.
Yeah. So
of course, during COVID, suddenly you had way less time, right? Because now the kids are at home, and you had to solve these problems. Noise that you maybe just put up with before in your business, you're like, I can't actually have these problems anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't handle it. So we got eaten alive for a little while, you know, like being I don't know if you've ever been to Scotland, Adam, and been through with the mozzies that they get out there. Honestly, near Inverness, they can practically eat you alive.
Right.
And it was the same situation for COVID with me, just batting things off left, right, and centre, just trying to deal with it.
Yeah, you weren't alone. Trust me on that one.
I know. But what it did highlight for this year was what I needed to focus on, and I think there's that 3 years around the track. What I've learned this year has been, when you do focus your time on fixing things, make sure it's the right things. And you say this, but it takes a while to learn that in real life. This year we focused on protecting our time, because we were eaten alive last year, and I focused on the complaints process, the maintenance process, and a few other processes that were causing us a lot of problems last year, and got all of that done between January and March. So I did my winter hit list very focused this year. I knew exactly what I wanted to fix, top 5 things that needed to be done. I had loads of other stuff I wanted to fix, but I left it to focus on the main things. And while we've been on holiday and the whole year, I haven't had a phone call from a tenant in 3 months.
That's amazing.
Not a thing.
Because of that process you built over the winter. Unbelievable.
I have had loads of forms submitted, but other than that...
But that's good. The phone's not ringing, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Because sometimes that phone never stops, and there'll be a lot of people listening to this that will think, I just want my phone to jump off a cliff, and, you know, I don't want to pick up this phone anymore. I've been there. You've probably been there. Yeah. You know, and getting that, you had a clear objective going into winter. We build the systems. You had a clear objective. You built the systems, and now you're out the other side. It was probably hard work when you did it.
Oh, it was horrible. I thought I was going to have a brain aneurysm actually between January and March, because the kids were homeschooled at that time as well. So I used prime time So literally I had like it was like put the clock on. Toggle's been great this year because I've had it on all the time. I've actually forgotten to put it on right now, which is a shame, but there you go.
Let you
but
off.
I had I'd literally timed it. It was like, you've got an hour now, get your head down, write out that process for the maintenance process, write out that process for the complaints process, and then I would write it up for the in Asana for the VA, and the VA then would produce it, and then we'd tweak it, and then it was ready to go. So we did it like that, and
Amazing.
then I launched it. The big difference this year was I launched it. So I'd said from the 1st of April, these new forms and these new processes will go live, and I have never done that before. And it made a big difference because I announced it and I launched it, and that's how it happened, and it started from that day. And for holidays, I wrote a holiday process as well, because that was eating me alive, working every holiday.
What happened when you were away on holidays?
Yes,
Okay.
because obviously it's just remember we're still at we're not quite at investor level. We've got a VA and it's me and Paul, and that might change next year. We're not sure yet. But the virtual assistant can help us a lot when we're on holiday, but she didn't have a system or a process to follow, and that took a long time to write, so she could deal with everything when we're away, and we're much better at that now. It doesn't stop all of the working during holidays, but in April I had the first holiday I've ever had without doing any work at all.
Fantastic. What an achievement. Well done. Yeah. It's honestly superbly executed. Like hats off to you, Rachel. I think it's interesting that you solved the finance problem first, then you had some growth, and then you're like, actually, no, I'm still working way too much with lockdown. Now I need some systems in place. And you've obviously hired the bookkeeper and the VA.
And the VA, yeah.
What's it been like having someone people work for you for a change? Because you're
it's been nice.
Working for someone else.
Yeah, well, I've always liked management. I was in a management role in my previous job, and it's nice to have a list, even though they don't work directly for me. It's really nice to still have some people to check in with, and the SES thing really helps. I've got a process for the VAs now, so she's got we check in we talk on a Monday, we also catch up on a Wednesday, and then we don't generally, the sign off is she sends me an update on email. It's sometimes a Friday, sometimes it's a Sunday, and then I review that on Monday and the process starts again, and it works like that. And with the bookkeeper, it's once a week because she couldn't commit to any more. But so we do the whole thing, the SES, in one session.
You've got everyone dancing to the beat. You're geeing them along. You're at the top of the pyramid, and they're doing a lot of the legwork, which is
they are. And the VA does honestly the stuff that we've achieved. So we put on the website. There's an application form. There's all the other forms that we've created. She's written all of those. We've used a thing called a company called Cognito to do all our forms. Everyone's got a different way of doing that. That's one we found that worked for us. So the application form, the guarantor, everything's all forms now. And when we started this, we didn't have an application form. We didn't, everything was done on email.
Nothing, exactly.
Yeah, and now it's all processed, and it's all, and then VA, I'd say our check-in and check-out processes are I'm most proud of, because they work so smoothly. I don't realise there's no bumps in the road, they just glide.
They work.
It's lovely.
So for you, it's definitely been this, it hasn't been about more money, more profit necessarily, or I'm sure that will come. It's been about getting your life back, actually having a business, not a shoebox and an inbox. Yeah. It's actually now a proper business. So well done. It's been a hell of a transformation, Rachel.
Yeah, and you know what? The big difference as well is some of the photos that I've shared with you of us having fun. When I was working, I was on really big money. We had on paper, we looked like we were doing fantastically well, but we were dying inside because we couldn't maintain it. It was just too difficult we just didn't have a quality of life with the kids. And now you think about the things that we've done in the last, I know COVID slowed it down a bit, but we still went to the Scottish Highlands last year and went to Devon for a week. It was like being in Ibiza because it was boiling. We were so lucky. Scotland, the weather was amazing, but we went all over Scotland. I'm sure you saw some of the pictures. We've really discovered loads of the UK through COVID, and that's because we've had the time, because we've got the business and we've made the time to protect our time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and honestly, it's fantastic. Like that's. I mean, it's life by design is different for different people, but if that's your life by design, then amazing.
Yeah, and that's it. You see, that's what it boils down to. One of the things that you and Dan have taught me, which I had no clue about until I walked into those into the Belfry and started doing this course, was that I didn't have to live the corporate ladder life that I was living. that I could possibly live a different life that would suit me better. That I did, you know, as much as I loved my job in London, and I loved working in London, but I think there was a bit of status going on with that as well. I felt that that's, you know, what I had to be or what I had to prove, and actually that mindset shift from life by comparison to life by design has been enormous for me. And don't get me wrong, it seeps in here and there, but just trying to find a life that works for me and works for us as a family has been like the biggest mindset shift I think we've had over the last 3 years. It's, wow. You know, it's been a big, and the pictures about my life on Facebook, even though, you know, it's only the positive reel, isn't it? But it does tell a big story for us, because we just do so much more now than we used to do.
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, like I said, you know, all we can do is show you the information. You're the one who actually has to do the work, graft, and put it out the door. So execution is everything. So well done.
It is. And I've learned that I'm good at execution, but it doesn't mean it isn't hard. I mean, between January and February this year, the things that I put in place to protect our time have been painful to do. Honestly, like I thought my brain was going to explode at some points, because we were homeschooling and I was trying to fix all these problems for the longer term. And it was really difficult. So I think people have to just be prepared. If they go on this course, they've got to take the pain for the long-term gain, because it's worth it. It really is. You
talked about your health as well. Let's just quickly touch on that, because you talked about like how you had to be ruthless with your time. You've had this health transformation as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a difficult road, because sometimes people say, look, if you put the work in, you'll fix it in the end and it'll all go. But it hasn't been that straightforward, because I've had a bad, just so I don't go on about it too much. So the last 4 years, I've been in a lot of pain, and I've not really understood why. So when I joined Property Entrepreneur, I was always in a lot of pain. Every time we sat in the classes, I was always in a lot of pain, and I have been in and out of a lot of pain for all of that time. And I've really gone on a journey to try and work out what's wrong with me. And sometimes you don't get a simple answer, and that's life, isn't it? You know, life throws lemons at us all of the time. But one thing that massively helped from the course, I think was a game changer for me, was Miracle Morning. So I'm not a 5 a.m. club member, because I've got 2 kids who don't go to bed early enough. Yeah. But I am a 6 a.m. club member. And I remember, I never forget the day when I said to Dan once, you know, because I'm not scared of putting my hand up on the course. And I said, well, can there be a 6 a.m. club? And he went, well, no, you can't join then, because it's a 5 a.m. club or something. And he was just quite dismissive of it. But it's worked for me. And that's the other takeaway for people thinking about going on the course or who are going through the course, is you have to adjust the blueprint to work for you where you need to. Dan's not got kids yet, and I cannot wait for the moment he does, because when he's not able to get up at 5 a.m. or 4:30, because he won't because his kid will still be wake up, you know, the
principle works whatever time. Get up and do the most important things first. I assume that's what you did in your Miracle Morning. It had some help in it, didn't it?
I made it work for me. But what I did do in that was I spent the time every morning between 6 and 7 a.m. working out this problem that I had with my health. And that involved doing, you know, exercises, physio exercises, whatever I was given to help me go on the journey. I discovered it, sorted it, researched it. I mean, often I'm up at 6 a.m. in the morning and I'm researching issues with my glue, issues with this. But if I hadn't put that time aside, I wouldn't be where I am today. So Miracle Morning has helped me achieve the things that I've achieved. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be here today. I think I'd still be in a lot of pain, to be honest.
That's amazing. I mean, the fact that you've done it all is really impressive. But I think the concept of the Miracle Morning is people are going to be listening to this thinking, I do not have the time. It's all right for her, you know, blah, blah. It's all right for Dan, he hasn't got kids, or it's all right for Adam.
Which I say all the time.
But the reality is you can find that time. And one of the places you can find it is first thing in the morning. You get to decide what you're going to do. You get up a little bit early, you go to bed a little bit earlier, and you create that hour, that 90-minute window.
And it doesn't have to be 5 a.m. I think and don't get me wrong, if 5 a.m. you can do it, then definitely do it. I'm a massive believer in that. But what I am also is, some people if you just find some time and do it consistently, because the consistency is the key, isn't it? It will change something. It will change. And that's
if you want something and you consistently put in some effort, you will get it. But if you don't show up every single day, you're never going to get it. Reality is so.
No. So just tackling it a little bit and being half-hearted doesn't work. But if you set the time aside Don't get me wrong, I haven't been able to do a miracle morning every morning, but I've consistently done at least 70% of my time.
Not every morning. It's important to say that it's not every single morning, 7 days a week. It's a commitment. It's a habit. It's something you do, and you might have days off, but it's something that it's a decision you make and you go and execute. So that's an amazing journey, Rachel. Honestly, like I love talking to you. It's always a pleasure. There's people listening now, and they've probably taken a lot from this interview. So thank you for sharing. If you had to give some tips, so they're like 3 tips to help people who are sat there thinking, I would like some of that, what tips would you give them?
Well, I think the first one is that your time is really precious and you do need to protect it. We all give our time away for free. We do things that, you've just got to think about how precious your time is, whether it's for your family or for the business or for planning things for the future for your business. Just think about how precious your time is. And this whole the blueprints on the course are all designed to help you get your time back. So, take it seriously, do some of the, create some of the blueprints that work for you and put the effort in and take the pain for the long-term gain, I think is a big one. And I think that one thing that leads off from that is that you get what you focus on, so choose wisely. You can't do everything. I've been overwhelmed on the course every single year. Oh God, there's too much to do. Yeah. But you do need to be specific about what you need to fix. So really that if this is the most important one, I think, is prioritize. So, and if you're not very good at prioritizing like me, Paul does my prioritizing for me because he's brilliant at it and I'm rubbish. I want to do everything, but he will be like, no, don't do that, do this, this and this. And we generally stick to what he says because it's the stuff that we need to get done now. Every year you can fix something, so it can go into next year's. Just focus on the stuff, prioritize. You get what you focus on, just choose it. Just put the time in, put more time into thinking about what you want to fix than just jumping into it. I think that's a really important one. And then you won't feel overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
Top 3, top 5 things. Like Josh does in his Asana, he has more stuff in Asana for his it's the same thing, isn't it? You just pick the top 5 things that you must fix this year and do them, and don't worry about the rest. Yeah,
there's 100 things that are broken in everyone's business, and that people on the outside looking in think, oh, he's got it all sorted. It's like she's got it all sorted. The reality is, you're never done. There's always things breaking. Your job is to be strategic and have the clarity to go, that's what I'm going to focus on now, or this season, or this year. Like when you did Jan to March, and you said, I'm going to do these processes and I'm going to deprioritize everything else just so I can actually achieve this. Yeah, and then I can move on to the next thing. That's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, because also you're running your business at the same time. So you've got your own day-to-day commitments as well as the extra stuff to fit in. So it isn't easy. But it's worth it. And I think that just leads up, I should have probably said that one first, because about your time, if you fix these things, then because your time is really precious, you do need to protect it. If you put the processes and systems in place that are going to fix the problems that you've got, you'll get more time back. And it's
a great way to frame it. Actually, no one likes doing systems, but if I said to you, you can have those 2 hours back a week, every single week for the rest of your life, would you just sit down and write this process for half a day? You'd do it, but people don't frame it like that. So
and I think it's easy to think, well, it won't solve anything because it's not solved now, but it does. It really does if you put the time in to
compounds over time, doesn't it? And over time, it starts to compound. The gains become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're further and further away from where you were 3 years ago. Yeah, and it starts to build momentum. So was that all the tips, or was there any more?
And then this is my final one. It sounds a bit like a sales pitch, but this is from the heart. Just be prepared to go around the track more than once. So with PE, I think the value I've got from going around it 3 times has been enormous, and I think I've learned a lot of stuff this year that I didn't learn last year. It just takes time for you to put these things in place. It takes time for you to see the benefits, but also you have so many aha moments every year. I mean, I have had every year, oh, wow, yeah, I never thought of it that way. Or that really now starts to make sense. I'm really getting that now. Like just the way that I've fixed things this year versus the first time around the track, it's so much more effective. I've seen, the fact that I focused on it specifically and then launched things on a certain day. the impact was like overnight. Whereas when I fixed things in 2019, it was a bit more messier, and I did it piecemeal, and I didn't really do it in the winter hit list. I did. I mean, I'm a massive fan of the winter hit list, as you know, but I didn't stop actually my winter hit list in March. I just carried on for more months and kept doing more and more.
What you saw there was a step change.
Yeah,
you implemented some systems and you got a step change. All of a sudden, overnight, there was a noticeable difference. And it's
and I've never had that
journey. You know, I've been doing this for, I was saying to you before the call, since, you know, 15, 16 years. You've been doing it 3 years. You've done incredibly well. But it is a journey. Every year you learn, and every year we're committed to this. It's a practice, you know.
Yes, and it is. And I think if I look at my life now as a person to where I was 3 years ago, if I hadn't gone on this course, this is how it will have gone. I would have got bored with the shoebox and not knowing what to do, because I'm not an accountant or a bookkeeper. I mean, what was I supposed to do with that? And then I would have like tried it for a few months. And then me and Paul would have had a massive row about how boring the job is. And then I would have probably got another job in London.
Well, I'm so glad that didn't happen. I'm delighted that's not the case. And instead you're sat there and you've got the business you guys both dreamed of. And I know we've talked to you about you a lot, but I know Paul's been instrumental in this as well. So
massively.
He deserves a bit of a shout out. We'll give him a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah, you should, definitely. Yeah, he is major common sense behind some of the decisions that I try and make, for sure.
You're a great team, Rachel.
Yeah, we've got a good plan. It's all about building our financial fortress for us. It's all about family and maximising the time we spend with the children when they're still young and they're still interested in us, you know, that kind of stuff. So
a very worthy goal, honestly, like a very worthy goal. Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining me today. It's been really, really great. If people want to get hold of you, they can reach you on Facebook. You're on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, they can get in touch with me. Yeah, no problem at all, and I'll respond. You know, anyone who's got any feedback or wants to ask me any questions, I'm happy to help out. No worries.
That's very kind of you. I'll see you at the next event. All right, take care of yourself, Rachel.
Yeah. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye. Cheers. Bye bye.